might not want revealed. Hats can even grant a measure of acceptance to a woman who'd appeared from the mainland to establish a small, decent business, pregnant, without an apparent partner. "It's hats that saved us," Mother often said. "That's why I call these hats remarkable. They made me unavoidable to respectable people." It was imagination that saved us, hers in particular. And I like to think imagination was her gift to me. Remarkable hats made Mother something of an arbiter of taste in our town as well as wise to vanity. She could guess the hat size of customers within moments of laying eyes on them. The measurements of regular customers she memorised, along with a characteristic that, to her, matched the circumference of their head. If she saw our prosperous and ambitious landlord, Mr. Frank, in the square, she'd say, "That Mr. Frank, no wonder he's a 9 3/4. With all those big ideas, he certainly needs the space." Or she'd mention that Mrs. Pym, the florist, had been trying on hats to wear to the cup. "Of course, Rosemary, nothing I had was right. Pym is one of those 5 1/2s, practically a pinhead. No room in there for a thought, let alone a decision." Hats were oracles, divining rods to behaviour. And while Mother's way of judging her fellow Tasmanians was often accurate, matching the opprobrium of a small town with her own brand of snobbishness did little to relieve our isolation. Of course, isolation itself worked on our imaginations, our illusions, separating us even more. We were only glancingly acknowledged and never included. I helped in the store after school. Friends were discouraged, if they'd ever been interested, or more precisely, curious. We had each other. "Better do well in school," Mother advised. "Keep up your reading." And she'd tap her temple with her index finger for emphasis. "All your future's there beneath your hat." She didn't mention my body. She never did, except in the most perfunctory way, imparting only biological information. As Mother knew firsthand, bodies caused trouble. She did have one close friend, Esther Chapman, a mentor to me and the owner of Chapman's, the only shop in the village that sold books. Miss Chapman, I called her Chaps from early on, helped to educate me, taking me to any theatre that made its way to our small town, favouring the rare Shakespeare troupe that occasionally washed ashore in Tasmania. Chaps taught me to read before I started school, endowing my purposes with words she would have said, quoting from her favourite play. Chaps held that books were essential, whereas hats were a kind of ephemera, fancy, objects that ultimately wouldn't provide Mother or me with security. She worried for us. "Books aren't lumps of paper, but minds on shelves," she urged Mother. "After all, hats aren't books. People don't need them." "Tell that to a bald man in the summer," Mother teased back. "Or to a plain-faced woman." But Chaps was right to be concerned. By the time I finished school, Remarkable Hats was mostly remarkable in that it was still in business. Hats were no longer fashionable, no longer the article of differentiation between decent people and ill-bred ones. Hats went the way of gloves and stockings. Eventually, even regular customers were infrequent, not immune to the whims of fashion or mortality. The town itself was waning. Mother's own health had been in steady decline for some time, linked as it was to the dwindling business. She was a small woman and dark, and she grew thin and pale with worry. As I grew older, Mother diminished. In the absence of customers, Mother had me try on hats after school. I had the height, she liked to tell me. It cheered her up. I'd find her dozing on the stool behind the high serving counter in the afternoon. She said she could only rest in daylight, that she was most comfortable in the opened store, and that nights were spent endlessly waiting for day. When I finally discovered how deeply in debt we were, Mother's insomnia was all at once explained. Late morning, one April day, a few months after I'd finished school, I came down the back stairs which joined our small flat.